Pain is the tax you pay for being alive. No exceptions. Physical, emotional, mental. It comes for everyone. The heartbreak that shatters you, the injury that won't heal, the rejection that strings, the quiet weight of financial struggle. But here's the truth. Pain itself doesn't break you. It's not the loss, the failure, or the betrayal. It's how you carry it. The story you tell yourself about it. Marcus Aurelius said it best. The pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. You can't skip pain, but you can transform it. You can turn it from enemy into fuel. That's what this video is about. How to master your response to pain and alchemize it into strength. So, grab your cup of coffee and let's dig deep into this. Pain is universal. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, pain will find its way into your life. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, successful or struggling. Pain is the most democratic force on earth. It doesn't discriminate. It's also inevitable. You can avoid risks, play it safe, try to shield yourself from hardship, but even then, you will encounter it. Life has a way of testing everyone. Sometimes in small ways, sometimes in ways that feel unbearable. And pain is a multi-layered. It doesn't come in one form. There is physical pain, the kind that strikes your body, illness that weakens you, injuries that rob you of your strengths, chronic pain that nags at you day after day, slowly wearing down your patience. Then there is emotional pain, the heartbreak of losing someone you love, the sting of rejection, the emptiness of loneliness. Emotional pain cuts deep because it often touches our identity and our sense of worth. And then there is mental pain, the battles we fight inside our own heads. Anxiety that keeps us awake at night, self-doubt that sabotage every opportunity, despair that whispers life has no meaning. 3 layers: physical, emotional, and mental. Different in form but connected in experience. The Stoic made an important distinction here. Pain itself is external. It's something that happens to you. But suffering is internal. It's the story you attach to the pain. It's the judgment you make about what it means. Think of it like this. Pain is the storm. You can't control when it arrives or how violent it will be. You don't get to decide the size of the waves or the strength of the wound, but you are the sailor. You decide how to handle the storm. Do you freeze up? Do you let the waves swallow you? Or do you adjust your sails, hold the wheel steady, and ride it through? That's the difference between being broken by pain and being forged by it. And here's the key idea. You can't choose whether you feel pain, but you can choose how much it controls you. When you start seeing pain this way, not as a course to escape, but as a force you can learn to carry, everything changes. You stop asking why is this happening to me, and you start asking how will I respond. That shift is where real strength begins. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the pain does not touch your ruling faculty, your mind's ability to think, to choose, to act with purpose. That's where your true power lives. And no matter how brutal life becomes, that inner core remains untouchable unless you hand it over. Think about a soldier on the battlefield. His body may be bleeding, his muscles failing, his strength fading, yet he still calls out orders, still releases his men, still chooses courage. His body is under siege, but his mind is still in act, directing, choosing, enduring. That's the difference between body and mind. Your body can be injured, it can be weakened by illness, struck down by accident, or worn out by time. Your circumstances can collapse. You can lose money, relationships, opportunities, but your mind can remain in act if you ground it. That's the core of Stoic philosophy. Nothing external can truly corrupt your will unless you will allow it in. Here is a practical reflection to carry with you. When I feel pain, I remind myself this is happening to my body or to my circumstances, not to my mind unless I let it in. This is why you can meet people who on the surface looks broken, but inwardly they're unshakable. Modern life gives us examples everywhere. Think of athletes who tear alignment yet still boost their team to victory. Not because their bodies are a whole, but because their minds refuse to break. Think of entrepreneurs who lost everything, money, reputation, security, yet come back stronger because their sense of direction, their ability to choose stayed untouched. Think of those who have lost loved ones, who carry unbearable grief, yet find a way to honor that pain by building something meaningful. In each case, the world could take almost everything from them, but not their core, not their ruling faculty. And that's the point. Pain can press against you, it can demand your attention, it can weigh down your body and darkens your days, but it cannot reach into your mind unless you open the door. That's why the greatest strength you can cultivate isn't physical toughness or even emotional numbness. It's the discipline to protect your inner core, to remind yourself in the darkest moments, I still control my thoughts, I still control my choices, and as long as I do, I am not defeated. Pain may surround you, but it does not define you. What defines you is how you carry it. Every time pain shows up in your life, you face a fork in the road. 2 paths, 2 choices. The first path is resistance, which always leads to suffering. This is the instinctive reaction most of us have. We fight reality. We tell ourselves, this shouldn't be happening. We ask why me. We replay the wounds in our minds until it grows larger than the wounds itself. And what happens? Pain multiplies. It hardens into bitterness. It thinks into depression. It brutalizes action. The pain that could have been carried becomes unbearable, not because of its weight, but because of the way we fight against carrying it. Resistance doesn't remove pain, it amplifies it. The second path is acceptance, which opens the door to transformation. This doesn't mean pretending that pain doesn't exist. It doesn't mean putting a fake smile. It means looking reality in the face and saying, this is what it is. I didn't choose it, but I can choose what I will do with it. Acceptance is the moment you stop asking why me and start asking what now. What can I do with this? History gives us powerful examples of this. Viktor Frankl, imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, stripped out of family, freedom, and dignity, discovered one thing the guards could never take from him: the freedom to choose his attitude. Surrounded by death and despair, he turns his suffering into meaning. He later wrote Man's Searching for Meaning, a book that has helped millions endure their own struggles out of unimaginable pain. He created philosophy of hope. Or think of those who have lost loved ones. Many crumble under the grief, and understandable so, but some turn that loss into a force of good. Parents who lost a child to illness but dedicate their lives to raising awareness and funding research. Survivors who use their stories to advocate for others in pain. They didn't choose the wound, but they choose what it would produce. Their acceptance didn't arise grief, but it gave grief a purpose. And now let's make this personal. I want you to both think about your own life. A time you were hurt. Maybe it was heartbreak. Maybe a failure that crushed your confidence. Maybe a moment where the ground beneath you gave away and nothing felt secure. Looking back, which path did you take? Did you resist, asking why me, and letting bitterness sit in? Or did you accept, asking what now, and slowly start to transform that pain into strength? Notice the difference. When you resist it, the pain probably grew heavier, darker, and longer lasting. But when you accept it, even just a little, you felt something shift. You found energy you don't know you had. You uncovered lessons you don't expect. That's the power of the second path. You don't always get to choose your pain, but you always get to choose your path. And the choice determines whether the pain becomes your prison or your power. So far we've seen that pain is inevitable, and that it doesn't touch the core of who you are unless you let it. We've seen that you face two paths: resistance or acceptance. Now let's take it deeper. Let's talk about how you actually turn pain into power. There are 5 practical strategies to do this. 1. Reframe the narrative. The first step is to reframe the story you tell yourself about pain. Most people think pain equals punishment. They think this happens because I'm unlucky, because I'm not good enough, because life hits me. But what if pain isn't punishment? What if it's training? What if it's the gym of your soul? A place where resilience is built and strength is forged. A setback isn't a sign that you are cursed. It's a sign that you're being shaped. That's how Stoics saw pain. Not as something to run from, but as weight to be lifted. The story attached to pain decides whether it crashes you or conditions you. The second thing is to channel the energy. Pain has energy. It burns inside you. Anger, grief, frustration. You can let that energy consume you, or you can direct it. Look at history. Great creators and leaders, many of them took their deepest wounds and transformed them into greatness. Athletes who come from broken homes and use the pain of rejection to fuel their resilient training. Artists who turned heartbreak into music that moves millions. Entrepreneurs who felt lost everything and used that humiliation as the fire that pushed them to build something greater. Pain is raw fuel. It doesn't care how you use it. If you leave it unchanneled, it burns you. If you channel it, it becomes power. Ask yourself, what can I create out of this pain? How can I use this fire to build something instead of letting it burn me down? 3 is detached from victimhood. The most dangerous thing pain does isn't hurting your body or breaking your heart. It's convincing you that you are powerless, that you are victim, that the world decides your fate and you have no say. But here's the truth. You don't control pain, but you control meaning. You get to choose the story you tell about what happened to you. Will it be a story of tragedy that ends with defeat, or a story of struggle that leads to strength? Ask yourself, what story will I tell about this? Because the meaning you attach is the meaning you live. People who refuse victimhood rise above their circumstances. They aren't blind to the pain. They simply refuse to let it write their story. 4 is micro-mastery. When you're in a deep pain, the big picture can feel impossible. The future looks too overwhelming. But you don't need to conquer the entire future. You just need to conquer the day, sometimes the hour. That's where micro-mastery comes in. Daily acts of discipline, even in the middle of pain. Journaling through grief, training through heartbreak, showing up for work even when your mind is filled with doubt. Every small victory builds a quiet kind of confidence. It's inner proof. I'm stronger than this. I can still choose, I can still act. And over time, those micro wins compound. What felt impossible yesterday becomes proof today. You realize pain hasn't defeated me, it forged me. Finally, the most powerful transformation of pain is when it stops being about you. Pain makes you empathetic. It allows you to feel what others feel. And when you take your suffering and use it to serve, it stops being just your wounds. It becomes your gift. Think of people who have survived illness and now dedicate their lives to help others fight the same battle. Or those who endured poverty and now building opportunities for others to rise. Their pain becomes fuel for service. When you turn outward, when you make your suffering useful, it loses power to destroy you. And this is the heart of it all. Pain either leaves you bitter or it makes you unbreakable. You choose. You can resist it, let it twist you, let it harden you into someone closed, or you can reframe it, channel it, detach from victimhood, master the small battles, and serve others. If you do, pain becomes the very thing that makes you strong. The wound becomes a weapon. The scar becomes a story. And one day you will look back and realize the pain you thought was meant to break you was actually the thing that built you. We've talked about how to transform pain into power, but philosophy is useless without practice. The Stoic weren't armchair thinkers. They lived their wisdom. They built tools to carry pain without being crushed by it. And you can use these same practices today. Here are 5 of the most powerful. 1 is negative visualization. One of the most counterintuitive Stoic practices is to imagine worse. Picture losing what you have, your health, your loved ones, your home, your freedom, not to depress yourself, but to sharpen gratitude. Because when you remind yourself that things could be worse, you start appreciating what you still have. That perspective doesn't erase pain, but it makes you see what's left instead of only what's lost. The second thing is journaling. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations to impress the world. He wrote it to himself. Raw notes, reflections, reminders. Journaling is where you unload the chaos of emotion and turn it into clarity. When you put pain into words, it stops running into your head. You see it, you process it, you begin to understand it. Some days, just the act of writing, I'm hurting today, but I showed up, is enough to remind you are still in the fight. 3 is voluntary discomfort. The Stoics practiced small hardships on purpose. Cold bath, simple food, sleeping on the floor. Why? To remind themselves that comfort isn't necessary for survival. When you train yourself to endure discomfort voluntarily, real pain becomes easier to carry. If you can practice hunger, you won't panic when food scares. If you can sit in cold water, you will know your body can handle more than your mind wants to admit. Voluntary discomfort builds a baseline of resilience. 4 is perspective shift. When you're in pain, the moment feels endless. It swallows your world. That's why the Stoic practice zooming out. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Some pain are life-changing, but many aren't. A rejection, an insult, a financial setback, most of those shrink when placed against the scale of a lifetime. By widening your perspective, you cut the pain down to size. Finally, remember, all pain is temporary. The body heals, the heart mends, the storm passes. Even grief, which never fully despairs, changes, shape with time. Nothing in life, good or bad, lasts forever. When you meditate on impermanence, pain becomes lighter. You don't need to escape it. You just need to endure long enough to watch it transform. Those 5 practices don't remove pain. That's not the goal. They train you to carry it differently. To walk through life not as someone crushed by suffering, but as someone strengthened by it. And that's the essence of Stoicism. You don't control the storm, but you can always control how you sail through it. We've come full cycle. Pain is unavoidable. Every single one of us will face it. Heartbreak, failure, loss, betrayal, but suffering, that part is optional, because it's not the pain itself that breaks you, it's the story attached to it. It's the way you carry it. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said. Pain cannot touch your core intelligence, your reason, or your purpose. Your body may hurt, your heart may ache, your world may collapse for a season, but the essence of who you are, the part that chooses how to respond, remains untouchable. That's where your freedom lives. That's where your power lives. So next time pain comes, and it will, pause. Breathe. Don't rush into resisting. Don't sprint into why me. Instead, ask yourself, how will I carry this? What meaning will I create from this? You don't have to let pain define you. You can let it refine you. You can let it curve depth into your character, strength into your soul, and fire into your mission. Pain has only 2 outcomes. It leaves you bitter, or it makes you unshakable. And the choice is always yours. So turn your pain into power, carry it with dignity, transform it into something that outlives the moment. Because when you do, you realize a simple but profound truth. Nothing outside of you can even truly break you. So see you in the next one. Peace.